What's up, guys? Another episode of Off the Post. I'm your host, DJ Red Hat. I'll be Red Cap today. Wait a minute, I messed this all up. What's up, guys? Another episode of Off the Post. I'm your host, DJ Red Cap. It was a discussion we were having about red hats, so that's why I was off today. And this is another episode of Off the Post. As you can see, we have Courtney and Jen joining us today. We're going to discuss NWSL review. Oh, Memorial Day, Tony. Isn't that the day or is it Labor Day? I get them confused sometimes.
It's Memorial. It's definitely not. It's definitely not Labor Day.
Oh, okay. I thought one was in May and one was in.
It is. Labor Day is in September.
Let's continue on. So, Courtney, what have you been up to lately?
Just, I don't even know really. It's been just a busy couple weeks, but went to the Flash game as we'll hear about and all that jazz. So things have been good.
Jen, what have you been up to lately?
Same as always, work. I actually got to take a nap earlier, which was nice, because I haven't slept in like a week. So that was good.
Understand. All right. Well, that's good to hear. She finally got to sleep, people. So, if you want to say anything to us, use the hashtag WillSoTalk. There's nothing special. I have any new announcements, so I guess I'll just go with that. But if you want to say something to me personally, use the hashtag DJRick, and I'll tell you about some of my nice vacations. All right, guys, let's jump right into it. Since, might as well. One thing, I was asking people, did I miss a Houston Dash game or something? Because I couldn't find anything.
No, it was a flood, so they rescheduled it, but we don't know when yet.
Oh. Okay, I feel better about myself because I was looking all on YouTube the last 2 days, and I was like, well, I guess I won't talk about that game. I'm glad it wasn't me. All right, let's start with Flash versus Boston. Courtney, would you like to give some insight on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll be honest. I got the lineup. I looked on Twitter. I was like, what's the lineup for the Flash? And I saw it and went, what the heck are they doing? Because you got defenders on the bench, even though we don't have that many of them. You have you had a forward. Taylor Smith is at right back. They moved Eddie to left back. Urseg's in the midfield now, and I'm like, what happened? What? Obviously, Sabrina D'Angelo has a fractured wrist, so Britt Eckerstrom got her first start. I kind of looked at the lineup and was like, this will be super special. It was great though. It worked out really well. Apparently, talking to Taylor Smith post game, she'd played some defense in the past, but was training all week on the right side. So she had the whole week of training to kind of get used to that and everything. And I guess Urseg's played midfield before, not for a while, but they liked what Kennedy did the previous game, so decided to put Urseg in the midfield because they're missing she was kind of like Sam Mewis, obviously because her and Hinkle are missing for friendlies. But no, it's great. I think the game got off to kind of a little bit of a slow start from both sides, but again, it was another good performance from the Flash. A couple of first goals. Taylor Smith got her first goal, which I kind of joked to her after, oh, did you ever think you'd get your first goal when you were playing defense? And she was like, yeah, no, but it was great for her anyways. Abby Dahlkemper also, even though it was kind of maybe a questionable penalty because I think that Jayon was probably offside. By probably, I mean was definitely offside. But that is what it is. But they did really well. I think their defense that we've been kind of nervous about looked really well, looked really good. This game, Dahlkemper made a great clearance off the line, saved a really good one. Eckerstrom had a good start in her first professional start, got the clean sheet. And penalty aside, even if we take that away, the Flash scored 3 goals. Lynn Williams has scored a goal last week. She scored 2 this week. She's starting to get her confidence back. And I think the Flash showed even Mewis and Hinkle have been really integral parts of the team, which they kind of missed early in the game. Like I said, it looked kind of a little bit slow, but I think they've proven that they have the players that can fill in players' absence and get the job done. They've had some really good performances now. I think their confidence is growing a lot, and hopefully they can keep that going forward. They are going to be, I don't know if people follow me on Twitter, they saw I asked about how long D'Angelo is going to be out for. No, they're going to be going with Eckerstrom moving forward because Paul Riley said he doesn't expect D'Angelo back with the team until September. She's in a hard cast now for about 4 weeks, and then obviously there's probably some more healing that has to be done when the hard cast is off, depending on how it's healing, things like that. But she might be available for the Flash one game before the Olympics, but I don't think that they'll play her as long as Eckerstrom's continuing to do a good job, which she really did a great job. So they probably won't see her until September. He thinks she'll be ready for Canada and the Olympics. So she still got called up for the friendlies, even though she's injured. She still made the call-up roster from Canada today. So it may be nice for her you guys just to go, even just be with the team and things like that if she does actually end up doing that. But yeah, so like that's kind of it. They had a really great game. They have kind of an extra week to work on things now in preparation for Orlando. That's going to be an interesting game because they had a good game against them last time. Probably should have at least got a point. So it'll be interesting to see how kind of the backside of that comes around with Orlando having just, which we'll talk about, having suffered their first loss in a while, and the Flash being on kind of a little 2-game win streak. So it was a great game though. Really positive as far as progress for the Flash.
Yeah, just a couple of quick notes. Yeah, they're firing on all cylinders finally. Like I said, it was a team that kept making chances but couldn't finish. Now they're finishing. Lynn Williams impressed me so much, and it's like I said, as the English say, they seem like they found their scoring boots because they're putting everything back. I mean, they're just like beating both Boston and then Sky Blue like this. This is impressive. Even though like the competition, they might not consider some of the class of the league. Still, you're finishing, and that's the main thing. And scorers just need to see the ball hit the back of the net, and it'll probably help them their confidence. I mean, it was an overall impressive performance by them. I liked McDonald as well. I thought she looked good. Yeah, what you want to say, Courtney?
Yeah, no, I mean, McDonald also is someone who again was kind of struggling, but even though she didn't score, is always like in the mix. And she has that long throw, which is essentially like another corner kick or a set piece because she can just throw it right in front of the goal. But I didn't want to talk much about Boston, but Boston really didn't have much to be impressed about. I guess they just really looked kind of all over the place. They looked a little bit. There were a couple times where they put a lot of pressure on the Flash, but like overall, they went from finally getting their first win and scoring their first like actual goal to kind of like just being like not great. So it'll be interesting to see what they do moving forward because they went from kind of like a high to like no, it wasn't even really close. Like they just didn't look great. So it's kind of interesting to see. I do think they miss kind of like Engen in the back, and she is kind of more of like a solid point there. But it'll be interesting to see kind of what both teams do. But I know some people were questioning like, oh, maybe Boston's like really going to be on the upswing now. But they definitely had a setback against the Flash.
All right. Yep. Thanks a lot. So now let's move on to the next game. One that I don't know if you watched, Orlando Pride. We will go to jail.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The entire first half of this game, like, put me to sleep. Like, it was really boring, and I kind of expected that. I know that sounds terrible, and Danielle's gonna hate my life, but we've talked about it. I think since the NWSL started, that Kansas City is just not an exciting team to watch. They're very methodical, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because they've won 2 championships being methodical, which is something none of the rest of us can boast about. So obviously it works for them. It just sucks to watch sometimes. So once again they pulled out a win. It was kind of a dull win if you only watched the first half. Coming into the second half, we got a little bit more excitement. I think it was Kansas City's second run of play goal this season. I'm pretty sure it's their second, which is nice to see. I always like to see run of play goals as opposed to set pieces. And that was actually the second goal. That was Erica Timrak, that was her first goal of the season, I believe. But yeah, she did well on that assist coming over and just shot it in. I think it was about 18 yards out, and it was a great goal. It was fun to watch that one go in. My favorite goal, however, was the first one, which was in like the 52nd, 53rd minute, somewhere around there. It was a free kick that Averbush took, and I was really sad that it was not credited as an own goal to Leanne Sanderson. I'll forever be heartbroken about that. And good on Averbush for being able to get it, but I'm really sad it was not credited as an own goal. That being said, Orlando was missing their national team players, as was Kansas City, obviously. But I think it really showed how much Orlando relies on both Ashlyn Harris and Alex Morgan, not even necessarily in front of the goal on both sides. One obviously saving shots coming in and the other making shots, but more so as like just a presence. We know they're a presence for the national team, particularly Alex Morgan, since Ashlyn Harris seems to peed in Jill Ellis's Cheerios and is not getting any time. So, I mean, we know they're a presence, and they certainly are for Orlando. I mean, this was a 300 and some odd minute shutout streak. It was just under 350, I think, and that got snapped by FC Kansas City, who no one really anticipated to come in and do that kind of damage to them. So it was great on Kansas City to take advantage of the opportunities that were presented to them, and it sucked for Orlando having that one goal that deflected off of their free kick wall. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
To me. But for everyone else, that's unfortunate. And Orlando just didn't. Yes, FC Kansas City is methodical and they're kind of boring to watch, but the fact that Orlando couldn't make anything exciting, they couldn't pull anything out, they really didn't create anything that was super challenging. I think that speaks a lot to the players that they were missing and how Orlando just kind of fell out from under their own feet without the presence of those two there. Alex Morgan is normally their captain. And Ashlyn Harris has gotten Save of the Week since we started this season. So, I mean, I think that was huge for Orlando missing the two of them, and Kansas City just took advantage of that.
Yep, I agree with you. It's funny, though, because Orlando, even with them, though, at times, were looking kind of on the road anyway, so now they even looked even worse on the road without them. So that was one thing I had to say. As for FC Kansas City, I guess this may sound bad. Like, they found goals finally, but I still wasn't impressed with them because, like I said, that first goal, you can't really count on that happening every type of game, or that, a little bit of luck always getting you through each game. And it still shows their struggles, like you said, being real methodical and slow. And it's like you said, I've been saying the whole season, they're still missing that cutting edge they just can't find because of the players they lost. And even when they were slow and kind of boring to watch times, they would still have that. They could have that one moment where they get you, and you're like, "Oh wow, that was a great play, a run by Amy Rodriguez or Lauren Holiday or something, or just a great shot, or just something in general they would do that was great." And you just can't find that with the players they have right now. So this is a good win. I'm happy they won. Don't hate me, Danielle, for saying that, but it's still going to be a struggle all season because it's like that. Other than the Timrak goal, the other goal is going to be one where. No team can really rely on that happening all season for them falling that way. So it's going to be a still struggle, but it was a better second half for sure. All right, let's talk about Chicago versus Sky Blue. That is you, Courtney.
That's me. Okay, so I hate draw. I mean, I've picked draws for like a while for games. I don't really enjoy draws, but I actually think that that was a fair result in this game. I don't really think either team played super well, which is, they had their moments, but I think, we'll notice, Sofia Huerta probably could have scored more than one goal, probably should have scored more than one goal that game, but was just not on point, and Sky Blue was kind of meh also in the fact that they pretty much allowed the potential for Huerta to score several goals, as well as offensively they were not doing so hot either. They kind of had some lineup changes too and things like that because they're missing players as everyone else was and stuff. But one thing I noticed that Sofia Huerta and Kristen Press don't really. Well, I think we've known this, but they don't really coexist well on the field. Huerta scored all these goals last year and was incredible. And not that she's not an incredible player, but when Press is there, she doesn't really get the chance to do it. Press is the one scoring all the magic goals, and even Jen Hoy, scoring goals. But as soon as Press is gone, Huerta looked probably the best that she's looked all season. But again, not as far as finishing goes, but just in sense of gameplay, and the opportunities and things like that. So it's very interesting kind of to see that. how they don't really necessarily coexist, and it'll be interesting to see how she does in like future games that like Press isn't there and things like that. But yeah, there were like a lot of errors between both teams. It was kind of slow from Sky Blue. I think they also kind of were dealing with some injuries also, which is not always great. But Leah Galton, am I saying her? Hopefully I'm saying her name right. She's incredible, and like I don't know why she didn't start the game. I don't know if like she wasn't 90 minutes fit because like she did join the team late and things like that. I don't really know if they just thought they'd better have her towards the end of the game because she came in and was such a great sub against the Flash last week. But if there's opportunity for her, she should be starting games. Like I said, I don't know if it's a fitness thing, and hopefully like she'll get to the point where she can start games. Because she's come in as a sub for 2 games now and has made an incredible impact. Even though they lost like against the Flash last week, she was such a game changer when she subbed in, and now this game even more so, scoring like the game tying goal. So she's someone to look out for. I definitely am interested to see what she'll do in the future. And like I said, it wasn't the tightest game for both players, for both teams, but. Like I said, ultimately, I think a 1-1 draw is fair, just in the way that both teams played, and as far as like creating and taking advantage of opportunities, and doing so and not doing so. Again, I think that's a fair result because, like I said, Huerta probably should have scored more. She did a lot of work to earn that goal. Same thing with Galton did the same when she came in. Really made a difference and impact, and so it really deserved her goal as well. So probably could have been, Chicago probably should have won that game. But considering how they played, I think that the 1-1 draw is fair for both teams.
Yeah, I'll just touch on your 2 points real quick. Like Galton, that was one of the big ones for me. She gives me hope because she's a goal scorer. The few chances she's gotten, she scored. And Sky Blues needed that because they thought it was going to, hope for Kai to come in and be like their goal scorer, but it's Galton. She's a goal scorer. Like I said, I think maybe it's fitness because she had just really come out of college stuff and they want to build her probably up and stuff. So I think we'll see her definitely starting up top down the road. So I can't wait to see her getting more game time and when she's really ready to go and can go a full 90 or however long for us. As for Huerta, yeah, it's weird how her and Press just don't seem to click. Maybe it's Press taking a lot of chances that Huerta would get, or it's just how their runs, or that it's weird. She disappears. She's invisible on the field when Press is out there. I've noticed because we didn't hear her name called that much at all.
I will say, I think part of that, not to like say anything negative about Press because she's incredible, but there were times where I think like maybe it wasn't Huerta who was open, but there have been times where like I wanted to just yell, and I think I have yelled to Press like pass the ball. But I think her instinct is to like not want to, like she wants to try to take the shot herself, and I'm not saying that was like a completely negative thing, but like that may have, you mentioned like you don't know if it's because Press takes all the shots, but I do think there's some times where like it may purposely or not, like kind of tunnel visions in like I want to score a goal and forgets that like hey there's someone else right like open or like in a better position to score. And I think not all the time, like Press has scored some goals that she deservedly should have taken, but I know there's been some times where people have just been like, oh my god, pass the ball.
Yeah.
And she hasn't, so that might may or may not be a factor, but.
It might be like with her because her instincts are a striker, and it's funny because they have her like how the formation. When if you even watch,
she's in a weird place.
They have her almost in that cam center, like back a little bit with the 2 up top, which at first I thought was going to be amazing because I understood the concept. He's trying to get all his best goal scorers on the field at the same time. But sometimes it doesn't work if the chemistry doesn't work, or so it's like she's not really a passer, and you might want a playmaker in there that's going to pass the ball to those forwards. And so it's really interesting concept. That's why probably one would be better off coming on the bench and like being a super sub for the other, like Jin Hoi. Sometimes I thought at times she would be a good super sub because she brings that pace and she's a little. I think she's faster than both of them in my opinion. She's like the dynamic player, but then they would still be playing up top, have someone feeding them the ball. You got enough midfielders that can do that. So I don't know. I mean, you would have to mess around with it and see but it's a weird dynamic because they don't play together good at all. As for Sky Blue, I think I touched on them for the most part. To me, it was just another Sky Blue type performance for the most part. Huerta should have scored about 4 or 5 goals of all the chances she had, but luckily she didn't, and we got out with some points, and we need those points. As for Chicago, I don't know. They've been a weird team for me. Like kind of just coasting right now, and I think they're going to turn it on later on in the season. Still doing pretty good, so I can't say much about them. Let's go on to the game of the week. Your favorite team, everyone, the Portland Thorns, or the Little Tobin Hughes, as we call them from time to time, with the Seattle Reign. as we call them, the Little Kim Littles. So let's talk about. Oh, I like that, the Little Kim Littles. All right, so let's go to you first, Jen. Your thoughts on that game?
Thankfully, I thought it was a little bit more exciting than the Kansas City Orlando game. Yeah, I mean, it was. I went into this maybe a little bit disgruntled.
Okay, you admitted it though.
I did. Because there were some comments made prior to the match that kind of I didn't know how to feel about it, because normally I will cheer for Portland on almost any occasion, almost. But this was tough for me. I didn't know if I wanted them to win as kind of an in your face, or to kind of lose as kind of an in your face. So I was really torn up on this one. What happened was the owner basically was like, "Welp, I have no faith in our team without our national team players here. So I'm just going to throw the entire rest of the team under the bus and hope we get a Hail Mary and get at least 1 point." And that just, it didn't sit well with me. That being said, that's on the owner. That is not on the players. So I was glad that Portland did what they did with the team that they had. They are missing a lot of players. A whole lot of players. They're missing 6. 6 starters, which is huge. But it was nice to see Betos back in there. She scared me a little bit because she kept hanging onto her shoulder there, and that made me a little bit nervous for her. But she pulled it through, and I think she recorded like 4 saves or something. So it was nice to see her back in there, her doing her thing. I think I don't remember exactly when it was. I want to say it was somewhere like in the middle of the second half that Catherine Reynolds and Dagny Brynja's also had a fantastic save that came off of Bev Yanez that could have very easily been a Seattle goal and changed the game for them. But I thought Portland's defense looked great. The fact that they could limit Seattle that much is huge, because Seattle does have a lot of scoring power. It's Seattle's almost a different team when they play away, which is unfortunate. They still looked good, but they were limited as they normally are on the road. I don't know why Seattle just seems to have road issues, but they do. And this was another one of those cases where Portland's defense just seemed to dominate them. Something I was happy to see was that Jess Fishlock did play the full 90. She was out there. She was doing her thing. She looked good. And I was a little bit nervous about that, but she looked fine. I was happy to see Carson Pickett out there doing her thing. I wish she would have maybe created a few more chances. But again, Portland's defense just kept them at bay. So I actually think this was probably a fair result for this game, given how both sides played, with Seattle not being able to create as many chances and Portland's defense just kind of smothering them a little bit.
Yeah, I'll say something real quick. Sometimes for Seattle, for me, it's like they have the same energy at home. Like they don't get up for it. Like today, they show flashes of it because this is a derby match. But it's like, usually they just don't seem the same. They just like they need something to get them going, and they just don't have that spark usually. Courtney, your thoughts on this game?
I'm going to do something that actually like really hurts my life to do a little bit, because I'm not the biggest Portland fan. However, like, I give them an awful lot of credit, because like they, out of I think anyone, are missing like the most national team players, and their bench was real thin. And at one point, like, we were kind of nervous about Betos, who I guess is okay. I guess she just was more like a nervous, like, discomfort thing for her, like wondering if it was gonna, maybe not nervous, but like more of a discomfort thing than actual like re-injury, which is great for the Thorns, but they're a real thin bench. At one point, like Sinclair came out at I think halftime, and it was like, that's not great. And then I think the person, Berryhill maybe, who came in for her, like had to get subbed out like in the second. Like she only made it like a half hour, so it's like, But like I definitely want to give like the Portland players credit, because they I'm gonna say something about Seattle too. So like, I'm not just solely praising the Portland players, but like they did a really good job with like handling that. I think a lot of people maybe didn't think they would, but I definitely think that they've shown that like they might not be the big names or get a lot of time, and even the amateurs who like had to come in, if they had to come in and be there and stuff like that, and had to be ready, did a really great job also. But like Meg Morris had a really great game for Portland. Menges had a really great game also. There's probably the two people on the Thorns that like I was just like, whoa, hey, you go. Like I mentioned that Reynolds and Brenda Stoddard had that kind of save. If between them and Dahlkemper, at least one, if not both of those like saves need to be nominated for Save of the Week NWSL. Like please do this because they were all both incredible. So like they had a really, I picked them to even win because I just was feeling optimistic. But I guess the Jen said that's a fair result. Seattle. I'm about to make a lot of Seattle people mad, and that's fine. I'll own it. Twitter handles at the bottom. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know your thoughts. Here's the thing. Seattle has got some problems, and not even just, we're missing, like, Rapinoe and, Mellis, and, we're missing Fishlock and things like that. Like, all are things that, like, have not helped, but they're the team that's probably had the least turnover this season. Granted, having Rapinoe out from the beginning and like Fishlock injured early is not great, but they in general they haven't been terrible, but they just have not really looked great, and I think their problems run deeper than just having those key people being out. Like they just seem to have problems like kind of clicking, and like even the shot opportunities they got, they pretty much kicked them all right at Betos. Like she made some good saves, like didn't really have to do anything spectacular. It was like, it's kicked right at Betos, high five. So even though I had picked Portland to win, I actually thought Seattle would at least get a goal, and that they might win just because, again, they're like probably the least affected by players missing and things like that.
Yeah.
But they just all season have not been great, and again, a lot of other teams have had injuries and have had messed up like player situations, and I think the record and placement on the table for Seattle kind of shows that there's something else going on there that's not just we didn't have Rapinoe from the start. Fishlock was out for a while. Mellis just got in. Like it's a little more than that. So that'll be really interesting because they only have 8 points this season, and so I think if you had told people that like Sky Blue and the Flash would be ahead of Seattle at this point in the standings, I think people by legit 4 points, I think people would be like, what?
Right.
So sorry, Rain fans. Like it was a great game to watch. I just think that they have some issues, and this also highlighted, kind of a combination of a great performance by Portland and kind of a like iffy performance by Seattle. Again, was kind of like fair result.
Yeah, that's the thing though. It's with Seattle because it's the thing where I think everyone thinks they're going to come good and finally start showing it, but this has been constant, and it's not a thing where it's like been 1 or 2 games. We've seen some multiple games, so maybe this is like some deeper lying problems that maybe this is just the team they are this year. It's hard to accept these things when you have a team that's been winning constantly. I know that is, especially for fans. So we probably can't speak to fans on this, but as for everyone else that's watching, this might be the team that Seattle is for the season, unless they hit a hot streak. Maybe they start clicking. You never know with a team like this. But it's like, I don't know, we're seeing problems right now that we really can't pick it out. As for Portland, like I said, it was a good little defensive performance by them overall, and for me, for an owner to say something like that, it's kind of funny because it's just like this is a great time for players that you might not know to actually step up and make a name for themselves. So they're looking at this as an opportunity when he's just already rolled the bus over them about 3 or 4 times. When I bet you a lot of those players might actually stand out and use that as motivation as well, that, hey, maybe our own owner doesn't really see us like being able to hold our own out here. So we'll see what happens with them going forward. All right, guys. Wow, we got 10 viewers. What's up, guys? Let's do our players of the week, and then I'll let you two, since you aren't going to be on the U.S. Women National Team preview show Wednesday, talk a little U.S. Women National Team. All right? Sounds good?
I was not ready for player of the week. I forgot we did that, and I was just not prepared. Yeah, sounds great.
See that, people? We'll see what happens on the show sometimes. Okay, I'll let Courtney go first.
Oh, fantastic. Well, see, I don't like to do this because granted, I picked Tobin Heath last week. I don't like to pick Flash players because people are like, "Oh, you homer, you cover the Flash." I am gonna pick Lynn Williams though, just because, like, just her scoring, again for the second week in a row, scoring 2 goals. She looked great. A lot of people know I cover the Flash, and where I stand to shoot, usually I stand pretty much down the side that she's charging at, and just looking through a camera lens at her determination and her focus, like as she runs at you, it's kind of scary sometimes. But just talking to her after the game too, it seems like she's really got it going, and she made a good point, post game, that she is one of the few returners back from the team, so there's been some sort of kind of veteranship there, but she's still one of the youngest players on the team also, and is very much it's only my second season, but has really started to step up, and her confidence has grown in the last couple of weeks. So I don't like to usually pick Flash people, but I'm going to give it to her this week because I really think that this is going to be a turning point week for her moving forward.
See, that wasn't so painful, Courtney. Jennifer?
It wasn't.
I was actually really torn between 2 players, both of whom were on the Flash. Actually, I never in my life thought I would have that problem. But I obviously
love it.
I was really torn between Taylor Smith and Abby Dahlkemper.
Okay.
I think Smith was just phenomenal. She just had a great game. They did chuck her back on defense, and they were like, "Here you go, have fun." And she actually did great. Her speed back there was so good, and as great as she was defensively, she was also so good at moving the ball forward for the Flash this game that it was great. I couldn't not consider her. But I ended up going with Abby Dahlkemper because I think she's just been great this whole season. And I think that's been why maybe I haven't picked her up to this point, because she hasn't really stood out as, having a really fantastic game, because all of her games. So this week I did go with Abby Dahlkemper. She just was absolutely phenomenal with ball movement, both forward and backward. She ended up making that great save that kept the Flash going with their momentum, and she scored a goal on that penalty kick too. I would have maybe liked to see her get a run of play goal. It's still coming. I feel it. It's in her. But
it is definitely.
she's been great all season. So it was I haven't picked her because I haven't noticed her having one great game, and I was like, that's dumb. So I ended up picking Abby Dahlkemper this week.
Well, this episode sucks for people that are fans of other teams. Sorry, guys, because I went with
Stop
it was
it!
Lynn Williams. I was so impressed with Lynn Williams. Some of those runs she made, I was just like, my goodness, where did this come from? We've been waiting on it. We've talked about her being such a good player to look out for, a young player, and I was just so impressed with her that whole game that I was just like, Lynn Williams immediately. I was like, I don't need to see anyone else. I was thinking Golden, but I was like, let's see her in 90 minutes and stuff. But Lynn Williams, I had chose her before anyone else. So Flash people, you should be really impressed.
This was the best 2 weeks for me. Normally I'm sitting here having to defend the Flash crappy performance, and the last 2 weeks it's people are picking their players of the week. They won. I'm just like, what? I'm not getting crapped on for the Flash. People in the internet, please stop picking on I'm not even gonna go. Just real quick, stop picking on the Flash for dumb crap.
Okay.
They're 5th now. They're technically they're 5th on a tiebreaker with Orlando, essentially. Stop it. Leave them alone. Stop digging on things they hate on the Flash for. They're turning it around. Stop it. The end. Sorry. I just have to get that out there. Just stop it.
I hope you feel better now after saying that.
I sure do. Don't worry. I sure do.
Okay, well, let me say something real quick, then I'll let you to talk your U.S. Women's National Team. Since the viewership is at its highest at this point, yes, I did my side view. I love doing that now that, yes. But,
who's here?
Yeah, who's here? But, check out that Spirit fan. We put one of those out. We put a grassroots out with your friend Charlie Flo, since you all know him. He's popular. Look at the video. And then there's also another video from Motor City FC. So 2 grassroots videos and a Charlie Flo video. And Charlie Flo talks about cheesesteaks with me. And I love food. All right, girls. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about your expectations for this U.S. Women's National Team versus Japan. So we're going to let Jen go first, then Courtney, and then we're going to end the show on a good note, since it's Flash Day. Jen, what you got to say?
Yeah, I kind of think we all maybe might be expecting the same thing going into this. But that being said, all of our picks every week are totally different from one another, so maybe we're not all on the same page. But yeah, I think Japan. I think they got embarrassed in the World Cup final, and I don't think they're happy about it. And I think they're coming into this knowing that they need to redeem themselves a little bit. Not necessarily in the eyes of the fans, because we all still view them as a phenomenal team, but more so just amongst themselves. I think they need to rebuild their confidence and really feel like they're the team that beat us 4 years ago. So Japan's going to come in, guns blazing, ready to go, but I think we will too. Expect to see Hope Solo, obviously, in goal. They are going to push for her to get those last couple of caps in at this point, so they're just not going to start someone else back there unless something really drastic happens and Hope Solo ends up breaking a limb or something.
Oh, God, don't say that.
On wood. So, I definitely expect to see Hope back there. Something that maybe I didn't expect as much was Christy Rampone just automatically ruling out of camp. I think discussion between her and Jill Ellis. Why is that happening? Okay, can we hear me now? All right, good.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear
you were like cutting in and out. It was weird.
Yeah,
it was like it was muting you for some reason, off and on. But continue, you're good.
That was bizarre. Okay, so Christy Rampone being ruled out completely, I think maybe was a little bit of a shock to me. I don't know that I expected her to go to the Olympics, but I didn't necessarily think she would not be in camp. I think it was probably a discussion between her and Jill Ellis, and she said herself that she's just not feeling fit to go to the Olympics. So I think that was good on her to kind of step up and be the leader that she always is in doing so. I think we'll come out with another victory. We still have some chemistry things to work on. We still have, a solid lineup to figure out. I don't think it's going to be another blowout like it was at the World Cup by any means. I think it's going to be a lot closer. And some things I would like to see Jay Hinkle start in the back. She's just had.
Oh yes.
Had a great season with the Flash, and I know everybody's had some personal dilemmas with her, maybe.
Stop that too.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna go there. But she's been great for the Flash this season. I think maybe at some point I did pick her for my Player of the Week a couple of weeks ago. If I didn't, she was one of those Taylor Smith, Abby Dahlkemper situations. So I would like to see her get back there and see, with how well she's been doing with the Flash, what she can contribute to the national team. I'd like to see maybe a little bit more action from, and this, I'm not going to lie, this is my spirit bias coming through. I would like to see maybe a little bit more action from Kristen Dunn. Yeah, I think she's absolutely brilliant. When you give her the chance, she's going to make space, she's going to make chances, and she's going to capitalize on things. Even if she herself doesn't score the goal, she will get the ball to someone who does. So I think she's going to be huge. And yeah, I think we have a couple of kinks we still have to work out before we head off to Rio, but I hope that this is a good shot for us to kind of figure that stuff out against a team that's coming back at us looking for a little bit of redemption.
Sounds good. I would have given my thoughts, but there's a preview show Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time off the post. Cheap plug. So I won't give my thoughts right now, but we'll move to Courtney since she's not on that show.
I don't really, I guess, have too much to say that Jen didn't say. I mean, they do have a new coach now, so that'll be kind of interesting. Japan being, that'll be kind of interesting to see. It's her first game since taking over. Maybe not. They may have played another game. I don't remember or not. Someone will correct me on that. Her first time playing in the U.S. though, which will be interesting. I agree with what Jen says. Like pretty much. Like I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think they're probably going to want to prove themselves after the World Cup and kind of how that ended and everything like that. I'm not even going to try to predict, I'm kind of glad I'm not on the show Wednesday. I'm not even going to try to predict, what the lineup's going to be. I'm sure there's people who we can assume will be there, but every time I try to every time I say one thing or the other, oh, she's going to try new people or she's going to keep things as they should be, I'm wrong. So I'm just not going to even try to predict that. Obviously, we're going to see Hope Solo in goal because they're going to want her to get those 100 caps. That needs 2 more. So that's going to be a thing, I will say, which is a common sense probably to everyone, I would say. But, yeah, there's just a lot of, it's going to be interesting to see kind of, like, how it goes. I don't think that, like, and there'll probably be good matches. I always think it's entertaining when we play Japan just because Japan has such high quality of players, too, that I think it's really just nice to be able to see kind of 2 of, like, the better teams nationally, internationally play against each other, especially that have such a history as, like, the U.S. and Japan. So I think it's always a good time when that happens. And just, like, you mentioned, like, Jen kind of touched on it, but I think that, like, probably very difficult, but, like, I definitely respect, like, Rampon's decision and kind of how she went about handling that. Like, I know people have had some concerns about people, like, players trying to play when they probably should have taken themselves out of the equation, but I think that's a very, like, admirable thing to do. And so, I know it's probably not easy to kind of say, like, I think a lot of us thought if anyone could get to 5th Olympics, it would be Rampone, but, I think that's a lot of leadership also involved in recognizing that you're not in a place where you're able to compete, and, like, it's kind of not, just kind of, like, there probably were some discussions along with, like, staff and things like that also, but, to kind of make that decision to take herself out when she knows she's not ready instead of, like, trying to go in there and, when she knows she's not ready. So I think it's kind of sucks because I think a lot of us were hoping that she'd get there, but admirable in the sense that that's a very hard decision to make, and I think it's appreciative that she did. Not appreciative, but, like, I think very, like, respectable and kind of like an honorable thing to recognize you're not going to be ready and to kind of take yourself out. Difficult, but just a lot of kudos for her to kind of making that decision, even though it's probably not a good one, like an easy one. And yes, thank you, Jen, that it is Takakura's first game as a Japanese head coach, so a Japan head coach. So that's good to know. Also, I'll just echo what Jen said. I will like to see. I will also, even though I said stop picking on Hinkle, I will not go into that any further, but
okay.
Really stop it, though. She's a great player, and I think that she's done well on, like, call-ups, and spending time with the national team has helped her at club level as well. So I think that even in the game she's played in the national team, like, there's been some good and bad moments, but I think she's learning and improving, and the experience can only be good for her. So I would like to see her get at least some time back there. She missed the last like, national team kind of, like, games because she had hurt her. She was hurt, so didn't actually go to camp or participate. So hopefully she'll get some time in there. But I stop trying to make predictions and think of who's going to play and what's going to happen because I'm never really right. So it'll be fun to watch, at least, I think. So that'll be great.
All right, thank you. On a side note, that show on Wednesday actually might be pushed back to 7 because your boy right here has a new job. So I might have to. So in fact, if you want to see my face, then I'll have to come on at 7 because traffic's going to kill me trying to rush here from 6 to 6:30, and I don't want to crash into anyone. The wagon just cannot make it through traffic that fast. All right, guys. So that's another episode of Off the Post. I'm your host, DJ Redcap. Be sure to look out for some new contests or something free or something cheap pretty soon on our Twitter. Do it for you. That's smart too. So I might do that. So let's wave and then let's end this Flash episode. I cannot believe all the Flash love this episode got. I just can't believe it. I don't see Jen waving, so I'm not pressing stop broadcast. You better.
She's waving. I see it.
Okay.